there everybody. Today I'm going to show you how I would tweak a factory Hey there everybody, it's Leon. Welcome back. Today I want to show you how I like to tweak presets by looking at a couple of factory presets, playing through them and looking at what I like to do when I tweak a preset to work with my rig and my guitar. So at the moment I'm playing a Hamer Sunburst, which is essentially a Les Paul with a JB and a Jazz pickup set in it. This is what it sounds like. This is a Brit 800 preset. Which I think sounds pretty good as is. So let's get in there and I'm going to tweak a couple of things to make this work a little bit better with, well, the way I like rigs to sound. So I'll try to keep the cab and the amp. I'm going to keep all the blocks the same. I'm purely just going to tweak them to make them work just a little bit better for what I like. So having a listen to that, for me, the first thing I'm going to tweak is the input gate to make sure it works with my guitar. So that's a little bit too much hiss afterwards. So I'll bring that down to say minus 60. It's still just the tiniest amount, so I might drop that down just a little bit more. I can live with that. All right, next, let's go through, and before I look at the amp block, I'm just going to tweak the reverb a little bit. It's a little bit... It's a little bit much for me. I don't normally use reverb at all on these kind of presets. If I'm recording, I'll add it later. And if I'm playing live, then it's going to be echoing around the room. So that's kind of my personal philosophy for putting these together. That's going to be my first tweak, is I'm going to shunt this block and turn it off completely. So there's no reverb. And you can hear that. I mean, that's really, really dry. Some people like that. If you're playing through and practicing with headphones or you're using in-ears, adding some reverb, that will probably be really handy. But for my particular case, I don't need it. So already that sounds a bit more attractive to me. All right, the next thing I'm going to have a look at before I touch anything else is the cab block. And I'm just going to play around with the high cut and the low cut, as well as a little bit of proximity effect. I'm going to try and keep the same IR in place. Anyway, that's just a little bit hissy in the top end for me. So I'll try that. I'll bring it down to 10K with a high cut. I might even try a little bit more extreme to start with, 8K. So what this lets me do, and if I take it wide open, I can really narrow in on those frequencies that I don't like, as well as kind of finding out the part of the sound that's like inherent to the IR. And there is, I mean, it's cool. There's some character in there in the top end, which I like. I don't want to kill too much of it. So I'll just play around with the high cut. That is a little bit better. If we have a listen to it at 10K. As opposed to 9K. 9K overall just sounds a little bit more focused to me. In terms of the low cut, I'll come back to that. I'm going to play around with the proximity. I normally like about 1 on the proximity. And that's cool. That adds a bit of low end, but it kind of does darken everything. So I might tweak this to about 100 hertz. Well, not 1,000. Let's put it at 1,000 because it's going to sound terrible. Yuck. It should be at 100. That's a mistake I make all too often. Type an extra 0. So there we go. There's the first steps. I'm pretty happy with that, actually. I really like that. I'll play around with this filter slope as well. swapping between 12 and 6, see which one I like more. I think it sounds a little bit too thin at 12, so I'll leave it at 6. So there we go. We've tweaked that. I'm going to have a look at the amp tab really quickly. Pretty happy with the overall tone at the moment, by the way. So for anyone who's ever played an actual, JCM 800, you know that you have to crank the master. So I'll try that at 7. I normally like it at 7, so... You can hear it just adds a little bit of that power tube saturation. Try it at 6.5 just in case. Try it way high, like at 9. It's becoming a little bit flubby for me, so I'll take it back to 7. Happy with the amount of saturation. I'll just check the power supply sag, and I might bring that down just the tiniest amount to tighten it up. Which sounds really, really good to me. So, and I haven't touched the EQ at all here. I've just played around with the master and the supply sag because they're interactive. The next thing I will do, I'm looking at the dynamic section. You can see there's a lot of output compression. And a lot of that dynamic depth. So if I bring the output comp down, I'll just compensate with a little bit of volume there. I actually kind of like that a little bit better with it low. We'll try it at like 2. And what I'm listening for there are the, just, if I play softly, as opposed to playing really hard, I'll turn it down. Yep, I reckon about 2's fine. That's pretty good. The last thing I'll play around with is the motor drive, and well, you can already see there's a little bit of motor drive there. I'm going to play around the motor drive time constant. If I turn this down, generally it will make stuff a little bit tighter, so I'll try it at 50. Well, I like that a lot. I don't know if you can really hear the difference there, but that feels really good to play. And just out of curiosity, let's crank it. So I guess if you're going for a slightly more squishy vintage kind of thing, you might want to crank this up as well as a motor drive control. But I think I like it low. So, well, let's leave that at 50. I reckon that's sounding pretty good so far. The amount of drive's good. In fact, I might even just turn it down the slightest, down to about 5.5. Just for a little bit of clarity, that sounds pretty good. Overall, the EQ structure is really good. I like it. So let's get onto the effects. Let's have a listen to it with the compressor on. You know what? I really like that. I'm going to leave it alone. Let's have a look at the phaser. Set for a classic vibe, which is not too shabby at all. I wouldn't mind having a phase 90 there as well. So if we look at the Y state, there's a phase 90. Let's turn the rate up a little bit. I like it a little bit high, about 0.9. That sounds really good, man. This is really good sounding preset for all the effects anyway. Fractal Audio Systems Boost. Let's have a listen to this. This is a pretty bright sound, I guess. So hopefully this will... Alright, that to me sounds really pedally and not realistic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the drive off on it. I'm going to turn the tone to about 5. I'm just going to crank the level, so we'll mostly be getting our gain just by increasing gain there. Okay, I like that a little bit better. The idea there is I don't want to alter the character of the amp too much. I might even just bump the tone control slightly higher on this one. Let's have a listen. I don't want to change the overall character of the amp too much. I like more of the amp tone. So one thing I can try instead of that is to assign a control switch to the boost in the amp if I don't want to use a pedal. This is also good if you're trying to conserve CPU. So what I'll do is, there we go, and I'll assign that to a foot switch. Where's our control switch number 1? So have a listen to this. Let's just have a listen. I think this adds 12 dB again to the front end. I actually like that a little bit more than the drive pedal, to be honest. So maybe what I'll do with the drive block is use this for like an effect, something cool that I could use in a song for a particular kind of character sound or something like that. Maybe instead of having a drive block, I'll use this as like a fuzz, or yeah, actually that's or maybe an octave fuzz. That'll be cool for the Hendrix kind of thing. Let's have a listen to that. The level's way too high on that one. I'll bring it back a bit. And it sounds like a can of bees at the moment, so I'll turn that up. I'll turn the tone down a little bit. That's disgusting, which is a good thing if you want a part to stick out. So I've kind of changed that from a solo boost. My lead solo boost is now coming from the boost in the amp block, and this is now a crazy sounding effect. So let's have a listen to the chorus. I like the dimension. That sounds really cool to me. The only thing that concerns me is the amount of mix, so I'll leave the level, I'll take that to 0, and I'll knock the mix down to about 25%. That's cool, that reminds me of Judas Priest. So that can stay, and finally the delay block. Let's just have a listen to what it sounds like. It's quite a quick delay, I don't mind that at all. We'll just look at the EQ. I'm going to roll off a bit of high end, probably from about 4K. And that is about the only tweak. I might turn the level up very, very, very slightly. Let's have a look. Don't want that on. Let's go to 15%. Cool. All right. So I'm going to make my scene 1 just my straight up amp sound. So let's save this to a new preset. Let's put him here. There we go. I'll just leave the factory preset as is so I don't override it. So that will be scene 1. Scene 2, I want my chorus and my compressor on because I want a bit of that 80s rhythm sound thing. That sounds terrible. I don't want the drive on at the moment. Groovy. Let's save that. Scene 3 can be my weird kind of phaser uni-vibe thing with the kind of Hendrixy thing. That works for me. And scene 4 can be my lead sound. I'll have the chorus on, maybe the phaser in a Y state but not on, and I will put the amp boost on by going to the controller section, turning on the control switch. Oh, wrong control switch. There we go. Maybe I'll have the compressor on for this as well to smooth it all out. Cool. Alrighty, there we go. I'm going to save that, and then I've got the option of doing the Van Halen thing, put the phaser on. There we go. I've got my rhythm sound. I've got like an alternative kind of more 80s sort of rhythm thing. I've got my Hendrixy out there sound. Which is wild, and I got my lead sound. Cool, so the last thing I'll do is just assign these to foot switches. I'll have scene 1, 2, 3, 4 across the bottom, which is what I like. And then any individual effects that I want to be able to turn on and off, I will put on the top ones. So the vibe, or the phaser I should say, is definitely one. Same as the drive. And I'm happy with the chorus coming on and off, and I will do the same with the compressor. So we'll put the delay there. There we go. Alrighty. There is the sort of final result with all of this stuff tweaked out. I think it sounds pretty cool. Just for reference, this is one thing that I go through in my head all the time. So tweak this sound. Here's a straight up rhythm sound. I'm going to listen to the original one just in case I've totally murdered this and it sucks, and there's a very high chance I'd actually like the original one better. So let's have a listen. As you can hear, they're actually really, really similar. So it's, the amp tone, I think I like it a little bit more. I'll probably play around with it for the rest of the night and make up my mind after that. But, I just kind of dial in the effects a little bit more to my liking. And yeah, there you go. Any questions, leave them in the comments. And hopefully this has been of use to some of you guys, because I know a lot of you, especially people who get the unit at first, are often underwhelmed with the factory presets. But the reality is, you have to tweak them to make them work with your setup, whether the factory presets, whether you buy presets, whether you download free presets off AX8, or, I've got loads of free presets up on my channel that you can have a go at. So this is my kind of example, my guide to how to tweak presets to work with your setup and to work with what you really like. Don't be afraid to delve in and tweak. I'll see you guys next time.